Hi, I'm Leo Finelli, and you're listening to Generation Change.
For our February episode, we have two fierce and intelligent young voices joining us. Mina Fedor is the founder of AAPI Youth Rising. Mina is an 8th grader from Northern California. In her free time, she enjoys drawing, learning about all things neuro, and spending time with her friends, family, and many pets. Mina was recently named as a top 5 Time Kid of the Year for 2021. Maxwell Wong is a member of AAPI Youth Rising and a 9th grade student from Northern California. Maxwell enjoys reading, debating, playing video games, and spending time with his family. I talked with the two of them about their organization, the recent spike in anti-Asian Pacific hate crimes, and their work with Mattel on American Girl's 2022 Girl of the Year. Enjoy!
Hi there. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
It is such an honor to meet you as well. And you're coming to us from San Francisco, I believe?
The Bay Area. Yes.
Yeah. So could you tell me about how you first got started?
Yeah.
When I founded the group, I had already spoken out before about the rising xenophobia at an assembly around a year ago at the beginning of the pandemic. But I wanted to do more and say more and speak out. And I actually first had an idea to hang a sign on a bridge that I drive under every day when I go to school. And eventually I reached out to other organizations to try to get some speakers, and it sort of turned into a rally after a while. But that was sort of our first action. And I really feel like it was a healing time for the community and a time to uplift youth voices. And we had over 15 youth speakers and many youth groups there, along with council members. But the timing was around 2 weeks after the tragic events of Atlanta. So it was really just a healing time for the community. I'm very proud of the progress that we've made with our group and the actions we've taken since then.
Had you ever really thought about social justice advocacy before that point?
Not really. I mean, I heard about the Asian hate crimes, but I never was really interested until I got interested in this rally and I heard about it. And after attending the rally and working with the organization, I realized that it's important and I have a responsibility to bring awareness to the public and do what I can to affect change, whether it's in my own immediate circle or on a broader scale. I can't be a passive bystander and watch my community get bullied.
In what ways does your own personal experience reflect the larger AAPI experience?
Well, growing up as a child of immigrants, my mom immigrated here with her family from South Korea, and my dad immigrated here from Slovakia after the fall of Soviet occupation in Slovakia. So, growing up as a child of immigrants, I sort of had there were some, I guess, immigrant mindsets that my parents brought over when raising me and my brother. But it is also important to recognize that AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islander, is an umbrella term for over 70 cultural groups. So it is a very diverse community, and it's very hard to identify just one experience for the AAPI community. But a uniting factor I've definitely seen is the importance of community within AAPI.
I agree with Mina. I can only speak from my own experience. Growing up as an American-born Chinese with very traditional grandparents from Guangdong helped me connect to my roots. I also attended a Mandarin immersion school in Oakland, Chinatown, and often went shopping there with my grandmother. These experiences enabled me to empathize with the immigrant community and the AAPI community on the whole.
Tell me about the 1 in 180 pledge.
So the 1 by 180 pledge is a pledge you can take to support teaching at least one day of AAPI history out of the 180 instructional school days out of the school year. And it is really an awareness building pledge, and one that anyone can take and teachers can take to pledge to teach one day. My school has implemented this in some classrooms, so I'm very excited about everything to come with that. And this pledge is really I guess, to raise awareness that AAPI history often is not taught, and that Asian American history is still American history. I have seen a lot of holes in my education where I could have or I should have been taught a lot of Asian American history, but it's just not there. And I didn't learn about it. But over the pandemic, and when learning about the rise of xenophobia, I wanted to learn more, and I looked at different resources, and I wanted to learn more about people who looked like me in American history. And I found all these different resources that are so amazing that could have definitely been built into my education. So this pledge was sort of a way to uplift the resources I found and uplift teaching AAPI history. So a lot of new ethnic studies mandates and AAPI history mandates have been, I guess, sort of coming out over the pandemic, trying to get more AAPI history and ethnic studies in different states around the country. And we really wanted to support that. AAPI Youth Rising supported AB 101, the recent ethnic studies mandate that passed through California Congress a few months ago. And we are super excited to do that. And we realized that Gen Z can definitely make a difference. We also organized a youth art show in support of teaching diverse stories and learning about diverse histories. And we had over 40 youth submissions all around the Bay Area of youth making art to support learning about their diverse histories. So Gen Z can definitely make a huge difference in changing the course of history and making extreme positive impacts.
Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people on this podcast, and I feel that every time. So what is your perspective on allyship? In what ways have non-AAPI people supported your advocacy?
Well, allyship is all about building a better community, and anyone can be an ally to anyone, and allyship and coalition building is extremely important to sort of connecting communities and making change, because if separate communities are just working on their own without connecting with one another, not much can be accomplished. Build off of the same ideas, support other communities, learn about other communities. And AAPI Youth Rising, we have some members who are allies and not part of the AAPI community, but they have been extremely supportive as well and very important in our mission. Standing up for your community members, standing up for others, even if you don't know them that well, that's what allyship is all about. And everyone can be an ally to any community that they want to. And that's very inspiring. I would like to see that videos.
If the xenophobia and hate crimes against AAPI people had been increasing since the beginning of the pandemic, why do you think it took as long as it did for this increase to get the attention it should be getting?
It's very easy to ignore issues that don't really affect you in like our white majority society. It's very like dominated by this white, straight, cis narrative. And these crimes also existed prior to the pandemic, and AAPI hate didn't just start in 2020. But bringing light to these hateful acts aids us in combating racism in America, and opportunities like AAPI Youth Rising allows AAPI youth to take control of their future.
And recently you partnered with Mattel on the 2022 American Girl of the Year doll. And what was that like?
That was super exciting. Mattel and American Girl just reached out to us about partnering for their Girl of the Year, Corinne Tan. And we were so excited to support a doll who can represent the AAPI community, be a positive role model to everyone. It's been kind of crazy announcing that. It was a bit surprising, but we are super excited to see all that Corinne is going to do, all that Corinne is going to impact with people and supporting the AAPI community, supporting other communities. Corinne is an amazing, amazing character. She is affected by AAPI hate and she stands up for herself. She wants to train rescue dogs. And overall, I feel like she can convince a lot of young kids that they can stand up for themselves and follow what they're passionate about. And a big thanks to Wendy Shang for writing Corinne's story in such an inspirational way.
We'll be right back.
Hey, I just wanted to start out by saying thank you for listening to Generation Change with Leo Finelli. Ads like this help us produce this podcast. If you'd like to make your own podcast, try Anchor. It's free, it's easy to use, and it allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, computer, or other digital device. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other platforms. Anchor helps you make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership needed. Anchor is everything you need to make a podcast, and it's all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
So I read about the book, and Corinne, the doll, she's supposed to be from Colorado, and they put out books that feature stories about the dolls. And I read on NPR that in the book, a boy tells her that she has Kung flu, and later Corinne watches her mom confront a man who makes a racist joke, which gives her the courage to stand up to her own racist bully. How do you feel about stories like this being told?
I feel really empowered when I hear the story about Corinne. She serves as a role model and an inspiration for other AAPI youth like me to stand up to racism. It's very empowering to see a mainstream brand like American Girl recognize the AAPI community, and it makes us feel seen. Learning about diverse AAPI stories at a young age only helps kids learning about diversity and accept all people, leading to less hate in our community. They can be an ally and stand up to racism.
This also reminds me of my family member was actually coughed at just walking down the street. And she was, I guess, kind of nervous to report it or say something about it, but I'm very glad she told me about that, because that was, I guess, sort of the empowering charge that I got to speak out for the first time and say things. And that gave me a lot of courage to, I guess, sort of speak out in my community and say something just at my school. I also know that I agree with Max that this is definitely going to inspire a lot of kids down the line to do the same thing and stand up to their own bullies. So this is an extremely important story to be told.
Wait, she got coughed on?
Yes, my family member. It was very bad. It was also just down the street from where I live, so it made me and my family feel quite unsafe just in our neighborhood. I don't know. For some reason, feeling like I was growing up in a more progressive environment. I thought when first learning about it, I thought that it was unreal that it wouldn't happen in just my community, but it did. And it was, I guess, quite, I don't know, disappointing to see that happening within.
I'm so sorry. Do you feel that the average person in the world around you is truly committed to making a safe space for you?
I'm not sure. It's hard to judge the average person, but person to person, I think that everyone has the capabilities to make change, to have positive mindsets, and the capability to be passionate enough to stand up for those in their communities.
Well, yeah. Who are your role models in activism and in life?
My mom is definitely a big role model of mine.
Aww.
Yeah, she's done so much in her lifetime, and growing up, she actually experienced a lot of hate on a daily basis for her. She grew up for part of her childhood in the South, and she was very resilient to that, and she sort of found her voice while growing up and found the courage to speak out against bullies. So she's definitely a big role model in my life. I've definitely learned about a lot of different AAPI activists. Kamala Harris would be, I guess, one of my big role models, being the first female vice president and the first Asian vice president as well. I've also learned about Grace Lee Boggs was an intersectional activist. She was a feminist during her time, and advocated for the AAPI community, and did a lot of coalition building within the African American community as well during the civil rights movement. So she would probably be one of my heroes or role models. Yeah.
Am I doing okay? Like, I'm trying to make this podcast a safe and welcoming space for you. Is there anything I haven't done okay? Is there anything I could be doing better?
Oh no. Yeah,
That's
it's been
been great.
great. Yeah, this
Yeah.
has been a very positive environment.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep this positive and authentic and hear from you.
Thank you.
Is it easy at all to get involved?
Yes, we've tried to make it very easy to, I guess, sort of access our platforms. We have a website that you can look at. You can sign the pledge. You can also found your very own chapter of AAPI Youth Rising, which you can be an ambassador to your school or the area you live in, and recruit members. And this would require you to just do one little action over the year. And that could be, I guess, an art campaign. You could write your own pledge. You could learn more. You could teach a lesson. It could be any small action you'd like to do. That is your only commitment when founding another chapter of AAPI Youth Rising.
Has the fact that you are involved and the fact that you get more involved like this, has it changed the way your friends see you?
Not really. I mean, I guess I've talked about it to my friends and explained the problems of the AAPI community.
A lot of my friends have actually gotten involved with the organization as well. So that's been pretty exciting. But I feel like, my friends just still see me as Mina, not really as anything else.
Yeah, that was kind of part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast. So like I and everybody who listened to it could see all these advocates as them and not as their cause, because we can't advocate for humans if we can't really see them as human.
Yeah.
With thoughts and emotions.
Yeah. And thank you for doing that on your podcast as well. And I listened to them, they're very inspirational. Yeah, well, thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed having you here so much.
Yeah, I'll be very excited to be part of this podcast.
Thank you so much for being here,
Yeah.
Mina and Max.
You've been a great host.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
you.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Both Mina and Max were a true joy to share this meaningful conversation with. In such a short time, they were able to take AAPI Youth Rising from a single event to a youth organization that consulted on a doll that thousands of people will be purchasing and experiencing this year, and a tie-in story that's fictional but all too real. Another way in which they're making big change from a small start is with their 1 in 180 pledge for teaching AAPI history in schools, and what's happening now in their community, and what's changing because of people like them, is AAPI history. I can't be a passive bystander is a mentality that everyone who's come on this podcast has in some way, but this conversation reminded me how true it is. You can follow AAPI Youth Rising on Instagram at AAPI Youth Rising or visit aapiyouthrising.org. If you'd like to recommend someone you know who is trying to make a difference to be on the show, or if you are someone trying to make a difference and would like to be on the show, email us at generationchange@leofinelli.com. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GenChangeWithLF. That's at GenChangeWithLF. Follow and review wherever you get your podcasts, and just share this with your friends and others. Generation Change with Leo Finelli is hosted by Leo Finelli, executive produced by Julie Finelli, and edited by Nick and Leo Finelli. Our original music was composed and performed by Leo Finelli. Thank you so much for listening.